what if the most feared bully in school picked on the wrong girl? A girl so quiet, so unassuming, that everyone assumed she'd just back down. But what no one knew, not even the bully himself, was that she had a connection so powerful it could shatter his confidence in seconds. And when that moment came, it wouldn't just embarrass him, it would start a chain reaction that would burn his entire reputation to the ground. Clearview High School in Houston, Texas, looked like any other suburban high school. Rows of red brick, wide glass windows, and a front lawn trimmed so neatly it almost felt staged. Students moved in groups, their laughter and gossip mixing with the warm autumn breeze. It was the kind of place where everyone already knew everyone, and newcomers didn't always get a warm welcome. Maya Williams stepped off the bus, gripping the straps of her backpack. This was her 4th school transfer in just 3 years, not because of bad grades, but because life had a habit of pushing her toward fresh starts. She preferred to keep her head down, avoid drama, and most importantly, avoid the kind of people who thrived on making others miserable. Inside, the halls were alive with the usual chaos. Lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking, teachers shouting over the noise, and that's when she saw him. Bryce Carter, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing the confident smirk of someone who ruled this place without question. Star quarterback, rich family, surrounded by his pack of Letterman jacket friends. He didn't just walk through the halls, he owned them, and unfortunately for Maya, he was about to notice her. Maya kept her eyes on her schedule, walking past without a second glance. She had no interest in playing the social games that guys like Bryce thrived on. But fate didn't care about her plans. A hard shoulder bump sent her book spilling to the floor, the slap of paper against tile echoing down the hall. A few students slowed down to watch, some smirking, others whispering. Well, what do we have here? The voice was calm, amused, but carried that dangerous edge, like a predator toying with its prey. Maya didn't have to look up to know it was Bryce Carter. She knelt, quickly gathering her books without a word. Most people would have tried to laugh it off or mutter an apology. Maya just stood, brushed herself off, and started walking. Hey, where are your manners? Bryce called out, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. I asked you a question. Maya didn't stop, but then she felt it, a sharp tug on her backpack, pulling her back just enough to make her pause. She turned slowly. The hallway noise faded as more eyes locked onto them. You shouldn't have done that, she said quietly. Bryce smirked, like he'd just been challenged for the first time in a long while. And why's that? Maya didn't answer. She just met his gaze, unblinking, before turning and walking away. And in that moment, Bryce Carter made the worst decision he could possibly make. He decided she was worth his attention. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Maya stayed quiet in class, kept to herself at lunch, and left the building as soon as the final bell rang. The Houston heat shimmered off the pavement as she walked toward the bus stop, glad to be done with her first day. But just as she pulled out her phone, she heard it again. Hey, new girl. Bryce stood a few steps behind, hands in his pockets, that same arrogant grin plastered on his face. A couple of his friends hung back, watching like this was about to be some kind of show. You've got an attitude problem, you know that? He said, stepping closer. Maya just sighed. What do you want, Bryce? His grin widened. What? You think you're better than me? She let out a quiet laugh. Not nervous, not scared, amused, and that threw him off more than anything. I think, she said slowly, that you should walk away. And why's that? Maya leaned in just enough for him to hear. Because you have no idea who I am, he laughed, shaking his head. Oh yeah, who are you exactly? Maya didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out her phone, tapped the screen once, and a deep, throaty engine roar filled the air. A black Dodge Charger Hellcat pulled up to the curb, glossy paint catching the last streaks of sunlight. The tinted window slid down, and there he was. Vin Diesel. Bryce's smirk froze. His friends shifted uncomfortably, and for the first time all day, he didn't have a single thing to say. The next morning, the whispers had already started. Word spread fast at Clearview High. The new girl didn't just stand up to Bryce Carter. She left in Vin Diesel's car. Some students thought it was hilarious. Others didn't believe it happened. Bryce? He hated every second of it. By lunch, he decided to make his move. As Maya carried her tray toward an empty table, one of Bryce's friends stuck out a foot just in time to trip her. She stumbled, caught herself, and kept walking without spilling a single drop of her drink. "No comeback, princess," the friend called. Maya paused just long enough to glance over her shoulder. "I didn't realize cavemen still existed." A chorus of "ooh" echoed across the cafeteria. Bryce's smile faltered. Later that day, Maya found her locker trashed. Books on the floor, marker scribbles across the metal. A small crowd lingered nearby, waiting for her reaction. She didn't give them one, just picked up her things, shut the door, and walked away. That night, Vin leaned against the kitchen counter, watching her tap her fingers on the table. "They trashed my locker today," she said. "That's their best move?" Vin smirked. "For now," Maya replied. Vin tilted his head. "And yours?" She smiled faintly. "I'm going to let him dig his own grave." By the following morning, Maya could feel it. The school's energy was different. Yesterday, the whispers had been about her connection to Vin Diesel. Today, they were about Bryce's locker stunt. The student body was split. Some thought it was funny, but others started wondering why the so-called king of Clearview High needed to mess with a girl who hadn't even been there a week. Maya noticed the shift instantly. When people start questioning a leader, the cracks in their throne spread fast. Bryce was at his usual spot, leaning against the lockers with his pack. But when she walked by without so much as a glance, the smirk on his face tightened just enough to give him away. At lunch, he tried to provoke her in front of everyone. "Guess your big bad daddy should come fight your battles for you," he shouted from his table. Maya finally looked at him, calm, unshaken. "Funny," she said. "You keep bringing him up, like you're not the one who almost lost it when you saw him." The cafeteria went silent. Bryce's friends shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, the laughter wasn't on his side, and Maya knew the balance was shifting. 2 days later, the school was buzzing before Maya even arrived. Clusters of students huddled near the lockers, whispering, laughing, holding their phones up like they'd just witnessed the biggest scandal of the year. When she made her way through the crowd, she saw it, Bryce's locker, covered with printed screenshots, messages, comments, and private conversations he'd had. All cruel, all ugly. Some were about students he pretended to be friends with, mocking them behind their backs. Others were far worse, racist, sexist remarks that no one could laugh off. And the timestamps? They weren't old, they were recent. Bryce shoved through the crowd, ripping the papers down, his hands shaking. "What the hell is this?" he barked, but it was too late. The damage was done. His friends had already stepped back, putting space between themselves and the fallout. The audience that once cheered for him now stared in disgust. He spotted Maya leaning against the locker across from his, arms crossed. "You did this," he hissed. She tilted her head. "Did I? You think this makes you better than me?" Maya took a step closer, voice calm and steady. "No, Bryce, I think this makes you exactly who you are. The only difference is now, everyone else sees it too." He clenched his fists, the fight burning in his eyes, but he didn't move, because deep down, he knew she was right. The hallway fell silent as Bryce stood frozen, his anger fading into something heavier. Regret. Maya didn't say another word. Instead, she reached out and picked up one of the torn papers, holding it up for everyone to see. "This isn't about me or Bryce," she said quietly. "It's about who we want to be. Do we want to be people who cover up hate and cruelty, or do we want to be better?" Some students shifted uncomfortably. A few lowered their heads. The message hit harder than any argument or fight could. Bryce looked around at the faces he once called friends. He saw disappointment, hurt, but also hope. Without a word, he turned and walked away, leaving the paper scattered on the floor. Maya stayed for a moment, letting the silence settle. Then she pulled out her phone and typed a message. "Let's make this a new start," she said softly, sending it to a group chat that included most of the school. Change wouldn't come overnight, but for the first time in a long time, it felt possible.